Hi, and welcome to 30 Days of Brave Thinking. I'm Mary Morrissey, and today I'm offering you a gift that will help you stay calm, help you discover that even during very, very turbulent times, you have a power in you that you can actually call upon, and instead of being taken down by a difficult time, you can actually find a way to have this be one of the most empowering times of your life. So it's completely free. It's the fruit of many, many years of study of transformation, and I'm giving it to you. For 40 years, my mission has been in helping people, empowering people, and training people in how to have a mindset that's a match to the results they want to have in their lives, how to move results from one set of results to another set of results that are more empowering, more life-giving, more fruitful for them, for their families, for their workplace, and literally for our world. And it works. I've been working with this for my entire life, helping tens of thousands of people all over the world, and especially in difficult moments like this one. I believe that the right thing to do is give everything I can give you completely free here. And in 30 days, you can establish a set point, a mindset point, and a way of understanding how you can use even the most difficult times in your life to actually help you catapult your life forward. Not because so much of the difficult time or in spite of it, but because of how you went through the difficult time. And if you just keep breathing, you're going to create results anyway. And since we're in this difficult time, why not use it to the benefit of you, your dreams, the impact you can bring, and the difference you can offer? So I'm happy to make this offer to you. It's completely free. So I'm going to start with a short video clip from a program I've created called Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking. In this training, I teach people how to have circumstances without circumstances having them. I lead people into understanding how to harvest the good, the seed of good that's in every situation, no matter how dire, no matter how difficult, no matter how scary it is. And so each of these days, over the course of 30 days, I'll be offering you free gifts. The first 5 are the training in Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking. I know that today's video can make a big difference for you as you navigate through life's toughest terrain and end up on the other side of that in a much, much more empowered place. So welcome. Thanks for being here. So before we begin, take a deep breath. Take another one. Bring yourself into the present moment. Stay inside this day and inside this present moment. Make sure your notifications, your pings and dings that might come to you through your technology are shut off. So much coming at us. Let's take some moments now and turn to what's seeking to emerge to us and through us. Let's begin. Hi, Mary Morrissey here. We're in the 5th lesson of Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking, Tools for Traversing Life's Toughest Terrain. So we complete now the first 5 parts of how to have circumstances in your life that can seem overwhelming and difficult and challenging, and the thing you would most like to do is just make them go away. Currently, our world is in a moment like that, not just individually, but collectively. But the same tools that over many, many, many hundreds of years humans have discovered for helping them traverse life's toughest terrain. Difficulty and challenge or tribulation comes into every person's life in the human experience. It's not a matter of if it will happen, it's a matter of when it will happen. And how skilled will we be in that moment? How will we be a person who can have the experience without the experience having us? Or will we be a victim of the experience? Will our life contract and will we experience nothing but struggle between now and whatever time the outside pressure, the outside difficulty seems to be lifted? So I think you're here because you're choosing to be the latter, because you understand that there's a power in your mindset, because you understand that not everybody's pretty much in the same situation, but not everybody's having the same experience. And if it were true that the experience defined the individual, then every single person who had the same kind of experience would respond exactly the same way, and we don't. People in difficult times, some thrive and some don't thrive. My friend Wayne Dyer many years ago said, "Hey Mary, squeeze an orange, what comes out?" I said, "Well, that's not hard, orange juice." He says, "But why?" I don't know, Wayne, why? Because that's what was in it all along. He says, when life squeezes you, when life squeezes an individual you're working with, what comes out is what's been in there anyway. And for many people, what's in there is a sense of victimhood, a sense of blame, a sense of attack, a sense of self-loathing, all of the kind of energies that create contraction. He says, but guess what? What's in there, there's also a place in there that they have access to something that's more than the difficulty they're facing. And that's what we're working with in this standing firm when your world is shaking. So difficulty is inevitable. And when difficulty, extreme difficulty, comes into your life, what you do with it defines who you will be and how it will turn out for you. Oh, years ago, I heard a story about 3 salesmen in the United States who were traveling to center part of the country, Heartland, because they were each salespeople for large equipment, farm equipment, like the big, combines, and they had a new piece of equipment that they were to learn how to sell. So the 3 of them were brought together, and they were going to travel farm to farm, learning how to sell this new piece of farm equipment, which was a healthy investment for the farmer. So they met, they got their rental car, and they headed out for their week's assignment about the different farms they would go to. As it turned out, one of them was a Hindu, one of them was a Jew, and one of them was what we would call a negativist. That person worshipped literally at the altar of negativity. It didn't matter what was happening, they found something wrong. It didn't matter what was going on, they found something to complain about. The irritation level was heightened and rose as the days went on. That they found something wrong, they were critical, they were complaining, they were blaming, and this energy, by the 5th day, the other 2 are so happy to be delivering the last sales call, getting in their car and driving to the airport where they knew they could fly someplace far away from that guy. On the way between the last sales call and the airport, which was about 30 miles, about halfway, 5:30 in the afternoon, their car stops running. It just comes to a dead halt. And the negativist, just erupts. He's all mad. We're going to miss our plane. This is horrible. This is the worst thing that could have happened. And then on and on. And the other 2 say, calm down. Look, out there across the field, looks like a house of some kind. Maybe it's a farmer's house. Maybe it's got tools. Let's hike out over there. So they're hiking. He's complaining about how long the grass is and how bumpy it is to find their way over to this house. They get to the house, knock on the door. An old farmer in his wonderful overalls comes out and chewing a piece of a straw. He says, how you doing, boys? And they said, well, we got a rental car out there. It broke down. We're rushing to get to the airport. Is there anybody who can maybe look at the car and fix it? And he goes, oh man, Sam's the guy he owns the shop, and I mean, he is a whiz. He'll know how to fix it, but it's after 5. It closes at 5 promptly every Friday. He'll be back in the morning at 8. One guy's all upset, of course, and the farmer says, but you know what, Mrs. and I, we have an extra bed here. It's got 2 twin beds in it, and we got a bunk in the barn. We can put you up for tonight, and she always makes plenty of food. Why don't you have dinner with us and spend the night, and tomorrow we'll get you on your way to the airport. 2 of them are grateful. And this is back in the 70s, this is occurring. And one of them is just erupting, still mad, upset. After dinner, they're getting ready to bed down. And the negativist says, well, I'm not sleeping in the barn. I'm not going to sleep in the barn. And, the other 2 are looking at each other. And the Hindu says, it's okay. I will sleep in the barn. So they bed down. Hindu goes out to the barn. About a half an hour later, knock, knock, knock at the door. And the one just erupts, being awakened. And the 2 of them go to the door, and there's the Hindu. He says, guys, I'm very, very sorry, but you see, in my tradition, it would not be okay to sleep with the sacred cow, and there is a sacred cow in the barn, so it's not appropriate for me to sleep with the sacred cow. And the one's erupting, and he goes, I'm not going out there, and the Jew says, no problem, I will go out there. So they bed back down. About a half an hour later, knock, knock, knock at the door. And, wow, the negativist is all upset, and they get up, and they go to the door, and there's the Jew. He says, guys, I'm very, very sorry, but you see, in my tradition, there is a pig in the barn, and in my tradition, it would not be okay for me to sleep with a pig. It's not okay. And the negativist says, forget it, I'm not going to get any sleep in here anyway, and he marches out, and he goes into the barn. They bed down. Half an hour later, knock, knock, knock at the door. The other 2 go to the door and open it. It's the cow and the pig. I hope wherever you are in this moment, you're laughing right now. Because we have a little bit of all of that in us. We have a part of ourselves that if we let it, will drag us right into negativity and complaining and blaming and irritation. And it's just part of our human nature. But you also have another side to your nature. who can notice the irritation, notice the difficulty, notice the challenge that we're facing, and decide who I'm going to be even in the presence of that challenge. You have within you a juncture between the finite part of your nature and the infinite part of your nature. Let the finite part of your nature represent your human life. The moment you were born, your birth date, and the moment you pass away, out in invisible ink, way out in the future. And in this moment, this here and now, you're in this intersection of your human journey. From the moment you took your first breath, and all the way to when you take your last breath, you're being animated. This physical body is animated by the spirit of life itself, moving into and through us, and rises up in awareness and proclaims itself, I am. You get to say, I am, and then whatever you want to put underneath it and behind it and around it, you get to decide that. But that you are a being is not something you could make up. It's not something you could create. It's something that's given to every single one of us. What we do with that being and how we be is either a pattern that we were just handed and we just repeat the patterns we grew up in, or something happens along the way and we begin to realize I am more than that pattern. I'm more than the way I was raised. I'm more than my hurt. I'm more than the difficulties I've faced, and I'm more than what I am facing right now. So as we pay attention to what and notice what we're noticing, we want to notice, we talked last time about who we're hanging out with, what we're watching on TV, what we're reading, what we're talking about, the conversations we allow ourselves to engage in. Because there are vibrations or frequencies to all of those things, all of the ways that we're practicing being. And if we want to have a particular period of time, call it a dark night, call it a challenging time, call it difficulty, call it the world is shaking, you get to determine and decide what you're going to be in, what you're going to be while you're going through this time, but not if you don't choose it. We have a mindset either that's installed consciously or unconsciously. You don't get to not have a mindset. You don't get to not think, and neither do I. But what I think, and whether or not it's in harmony with where I want to end up a year from now, is completely in my control if I will employ the skill set of noticing what I'm noticing. But if I don't notice what I'm noticing, I'll just react and respond to everything coming at me. I mentioned in one of the trainings, I think it was yesterday's training, the extreme difficulty I went through when I lost my business, the marriage, the house, my reputation, this very, very dark, difficult time. How I went to the Oregon coast and I spent weeks just bereft until I could begin to recognize this was a dark chapter. I could still write new chapters in my life. I could take what I loved. I could do the things that I could do with what I had. And I began to build again. And what I built subsequent to that is not only more successful in every measurable way, but way more meaningful also because of who I became in the process. I would not wish what I went through on anybody, but I would wish where it took me on everyone. And so I know in the very depths of my being that you can have this experience that we're collectively going through, but you will have an individual version of it. Your version will not be like anybody else's version. It'll be the one you create between you, your thoughts, and your results. I know that this can be a time that leaves you in a much, much better place. I know that. It doesn't mean it will, because that it's possible for it to leave you in a much better place doesn't mean you'll create that. And I believe that's why you came. And I know that's what these lessons will help you do if you do something with the lessons. They're here, they're free, you can listen again and again, and behind this comes days of small dose trainings. The first 5 trainings have been about 35, 40 minutes long. And now you get small dose trainings so that you have a month, 30 days of brave thinking, which is a different kind of thinking than common hour thinking. Common hour thinking is I get to feel better when my results are different, when I've got the money, when this thing goes away, boy, am I not going to feel better then? Yeah, you will feel better then, but you can feel better now by having some tools and accesses to a power in you and a place in you that is independent from the experience you're having. And I found that, not easily. I went to the Oregon coast. I mentioned I had several weeks of just bereftness. So hurt, mad, angry at the person I felt betrayed by, what the net effect of that was in my business and the people's lives I had loved and nurtured and ministered to. I felt mad at myself for not seeing things in hindsight I could see. All of that was occurring for me. And over the course of that time, I took a little tiny book with me, written in 1100 AD from a Christian mystic called St. John of the Cross. I have found inspiration, tools, transformation in every one of our world's religions, in the different philosophies and mythologies, in psychology and quantum physics. There's an inside all of it, let me just say this, there's a mystical strain. There's a truth that isn't confined by any religion or philosophy or science or mysticism. It's a truth that's everywhere present when you begin to look for it and find it, and it's already in you. And so I took this little book, Dark Night of the Soul, about how do you traverse these difficult times? How do you get through that? How do you do that? If you're in the midst of a difficult time, then how do you do it well? If you're going to have the difficult time anyway, why not learn to do it well? And what would be the skill set that would come with that? And what would you do? And what, in fact, might it mean in the future of your life? And I began to work with those questions. And I found a little paragraph, maybe 5 or 6 weeks into the 3 months I spent walking the beach, that said this. So this mystic from 1100 AD. When the dark night comes upon you, so let's start there. When the dark night comes upon you, the first thing is, it's not a matter of if it will happen. Something in your life that is extremely challenging. The death of a loved one, a diagnosis, a divorce, a betrayal, you lose the money, you invest in a business and it doesn't go well, business partner absconds. I mean, the forms of difficulty are unending. But the extreme difficulty is something that every single one of us faces in this hero's journey, in this journey of life. When the dark night comes upon you, the first thing you do is do everything you can do to make it go away. When you discover your power is not enough to make it go away, so you and I are in that moment right now. Our personal power is not enough to make this go away. We can influence certainly certain things, social distancing, positive thinking, mindset, getting creative. There's things we can generate, but we can't make the whole thing go away. First thing you do is and so you think about a death in your life. The first thing is denial. You just, you can't believe it's happened. It just takes time for it even to take it in. When I found out this money was missing and what that was going to mean, it was like I was shattered. And when some things have happened in your life, you may have felt that way too. The first thing you do is to do everything you can do to just make it go away. My first thought was, there has to be a mistake here. No, this could not be what this is looking like. But it was. First thing you do is do everything you can do to try to make it go away. When you discover your power is not enough to make it go away, it's not an if it's going to happen, it's just when it's going to happen and what form it will take. But here's the if, because difficult things happen to every human, but not everyone does this next step. When the dark night comes upon you, first thing you do is do everything you can do to try to make it go away. When you discover your power is not enough to make it go away, if you surrender to it, and that was in one of our first lessons, it's here, I can't change it. That's a form of surrender. It's, we're in this situation, I can't change that. The money's gone, my friend died, my spouse died, my spouse left me, my spouse divorced me, my spouse betrayed me, I betrayed someone, here's the disease, it's all of those things. When you discover your power isn't enough to make it go away, if you surrender to it, 3 things will happen. Number 1 is a feeling of release because you've stopped fighting it. The second is a feeling of relief because you set it down. Here it is. And he said, and a strange feeling will come upon you. You surrender to it, you feel a release come behind that, either immediately or within a short amount of time comes a feeling of relief. Okay. And then he said the third thing is a strange feeling will come upon you, that you don't want it to end too soon. You actually don't want this dark night, this difficulty, this challenge. You actually don't want it to end too soon because you actually want everything it came to give you. When I read that, walking the beach, that I wanted this and I didn't want it to go away too soon, I thought, well, that's not how I'm feeling. I hadn't fully surrendered. I hadn't fully allowed myself to embrace that in this life there's good in everything. Even though I could teach that, even though I'd shared that, there's a seed of good in everything, there was a part of me that was still in resistance to this situation. And when you get to this particular place spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, you don't want it to end too soon because you actually do want everything life came to give you even in this moment. I got to that place. It wasn't an easy place to get to, but when I got to that place, things began to shift. And I'll tell you a story about my life as a teacher, trainer, working with people all over the world, speaking at the UN, working with the Dalai Lama, all kinds of things that I've had the privilege of being part of in this lifetime. And the amazing, amazing clients and people I've met all over the world, and the breakthroughs that have happened and the differences they've made and all of the impact that they've brought. But none of that was happening to me way back in 1971. I'd had the recovery from my kidney disease miraculously in 1967. Now I was just getting myself into undergraduate school in 1971 so I could become have my certification to be a teacher. I thought I wanted to teach grade school back then. And so I'm so happy to be getting into college. I've got 2 little boys now by then, and I'm taking them down to Portland, Oregon, in the daycare center there nearby for my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old, or 3 and 4-year-old. It was fruit and flower daycare. It was like an early Montessori school. And I heard about this man that was speaking, and I wanted to go to his lecture. So my husband at the time, and I went to that lecture, and when he was lecturing, he said, in the mix, I don't remember, and we kind of went because somebody else told us we really needed to go, but I wanted to go, and we went. And when he was lecturing, he said, nothing is bad unless you think it's bad. And I just recoiled, and I'm sitting there. Now, I'm 22 or 3 years old, so I'm young, and I know pretty much everything, of course, at that age. But nevertheless, there was nothing in me that believed that. He says, nothing is bad unless you think it's bad. And I'm thinking inside myself, and I don't know if I actually crossed my arms or if I just energetically crossed my arms, but I remember thinking, that is not true. That simply is not true. There is bad stuff in this world. Car wrecks are bad, murder's bad, war is bad. Come on, there's bad stuff here. And while I'm thinking these thoughts, he pauses and he looks around the audience and he goes, I know what you're thinking. And I will agree with you. There are things in this world that every single one of us would love to see changed and love to help make change. But here's the truth. In everything, there is some good. And if you want to do an experiment with this, it's not the thing itself that makes it good or bad. It's what you do with it in your mind and your actions that will make it good or bad. If you decide it's going to be bad, you're going to have your way. If you decide, I'm going to find some good in this, watch what happens. So let me give you a tool to use that can become an experiment. The next time something happens in your life, that immediately your knee-jerk response is, this is bad, this is really bad. The moment that happens, hit your internal pause button and wait 3 days. But don't just wait 3 days. During that 3 days, turn up your curiosity on what possible good there could be in this situation. And then after 3 days, if you can't find any good in that situation, go ahead and get all upset. You haven't surrendered your ability or your freedom to get all upset and frustrated by it. But just give it a chance. Try this experiment. Try this out. So we left, and I just like, oh, I don't know, different things. I had never been in personal development or professional development. I hadn't yet got my master's degree in counseling psychology and learned some self-reflection tools. I hadn't learned a lot of things. So, we left the lecture. 2 days later, my kid's dad comes home, and when he walks in at 5 o'clock, I'm looking at him. He's an hour early, first and foremost, and secondly, he looks ashen. I said, what happened? And he said, there was a massive layoff at work today. 100 of us got laid off. And I was like, and my first thought is, oh my God, this is so bad. This is so bad. I mean, I'm in school, how am I going to stay in school? And how are we going to survive? We got little kids. And I'm just like ramping up my panic. And then I said, wait a minute. That guy a couple of days ago said, the next time something happens that feels really bad and we're thinking we should just say this is bad, wait 3 days. He said, what is it? He said, hit your internal pause button. And I looked like, where is that? How do I find that? And wait 3 days, but don't just wait 3 days. During that time, turn up the volume on your curiosity about what possible good there can be in this. So let's see, it's 5 o'clock, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 5 o'clock. If we can't find any good in this by Friday at 5 o'clock, then we'll panic. I mean, literally, that's what I said. And it was the first experience in all of my life that I began to realize I could schedule my own panic. Instead of being a panic button just waiting for circumstances to punch my panic button and get me panicked, or something to happen and punch that button and get me reactive about something. I'll wait 3 days. After we got the kids to bed that night, we sat down. He got out a piece of paper. He was way better at it than I was. I was just still working my hardest just to not freak out. I wasn't very skillful yet in having an experience without the experience having me. And even though I said we won't panic till Friday, panic was rising up in me, and I'd have to say Friday at 5, Friday at 5, Friday at 5. Meanwhile, we're sitting that night writing, and he says, well, let's list every possible good there could be. I said, my first response, how can there be any good in this? There's no good in this. He says, well, I drive 90 minutes to work and 90 minutes back every day. What if I work closer to home? Well, and my response is, where are you going to find a job like that? He says, well, we're just looking for possible good here, right? So he wrote, work closer to home. Drive fewer hours. Drive less hours each day. He says, well, what if I work shorter hours? I said, where are you going to get a job where you're working shorter hours? He said, but what if I did? And he was willing to lean into the what if this good could be here, where I'm in the how. And this is important for you, brave thinker. This is important for you in using a rocky time, a difficult time, the world is shaking time, for you to be able to be more than the difficulty you're riding on or moving through. Don't get stuck on the how right now, but be very clear about the what. So the what was, what if I worked shorter hours? What if I made more money? And the next day as we did this again, it was what if I worked so close to home I could actually ride my bike? He was a bike rider. He loved to ride his bike. What if I could ride my bike to work? What if I loved what I was doing instead of just trading my time for money? Well, what kind of job would do that? He said, I'm just saying, but what if I did? And he wrote this like 4 or 5 things that if that could happen, he would love that. I didn't yet know the power of visioning what you would love. Putting yourself, your soul, your energy in harmony with love, the vibration of love expressed by means of you. Khalil Gibran, the poet, once said that work is love made visible. Your true work is love made visible. And so he was imagining doing something that really moved in him. We didn't have the words for this. We didn't understand the physics of it yet at all. But this is what was going on. We were trying on this tool. And so because he was thinking, well, what if I work closer to home? What if I could ride my bike to work? Ideas of places that he might apply, instead of ideas of places that were near where he had worked before, began to occur to him. And so Wednesday, he went out and he started leaving applications. Some said they were not hiring, but that he could leave an application. Other places wouldn't take an application. Other places said, go ahead and leave the application. So we had a variety of responses. He came home that night. Thursday, he got some phone calls, and he went out and had some interviews. And when I got home from school, bringing the boys home from Fruit and Flower Daycare on a Thursday, I walked in and he was beaming. I said, what happened today? He got a better paying job, closer to home, shorter hours, much closer to home. He could actually ride his bike back and forth to work. This was Thursday. My panic wasn't even scheduled till Friday. And it was the first time that I really began to see the power that's in each one of us, to have an experience without the experience having us. Now again, that doesn't happen to you. It has to happen with you. And it is the way that you orient yourself to the experience you're having. So difficulty, it's inevitable in the human life. The form of it, the size of it, the immensity of it varies. But difficulty itself is part of our human experience. It's part of becoming more of who we're capable of being. The difficulty itself, if you traverse that terrain well, there are gifts, there are capacities. There's already the potential you, just as in an acorn, there's the potential oak tree. But for oak treeness to come out of acornness, there's a process that's required. For butterflyness to come out of caterpillarness, there's a process. The caterpillar can fly, but not as a butterfly. But not as a caterpillar. It has to go through a process. You have more capacities in you, and so do I. We are more than we know ourselves to be. And when I look back on some of the most difficult moments in my life, 2 that I've shared with you during this series, it's not in spite of those times that I got more empowered. It's not in spite of those times that I began to find parts of myself that I didn't even know were there. It's because of them and because of how I used them. I got help in understanding how powerful mindset is. I got help in deciding to do the thing I could do with what I had. Instead of trying to solve it all at once, is there something I can do today? I got help in learning how every single morning, in the way you brush your teeth, take a shower, and put on your clothes for the day, you are, whether you're aware of it or not, putting on a mindset. When you become aware of that, you can decide what the mindset's going to be. I'm going to be optimistic today. I'm going to look for the good in this day. I'm not trying to make it all shift today, but I'm going to make this day a positive, powerful, productive day for me and the things that matter to me. Positive. That's a choice you make. Productive. That's a choice that you make. You get to choose how you're going to be, but your mindset will set the frequency in the same way the dial on your in your car tunes to the frequency of the program you're going to be hearing, the music you're going to hear, the news station, whatever it is. Now, granted, in your car, we now have something called presets, where you can preset your favorite frequencies. Guess what? You've got internal presets as well. So do I. They're the most frequented, visited frequencies that you and I go to. And our poor negativist in the story we opened with had a frequency that he went to repeatedly that was broadcasting negativity. Now, we've known people like that. We've maybe been people like that at times in our lives. We know people who have, as my friend Joe Dispenza says, memorized suffering, memorized being a victim. But you're here because no matter what your past has been, no matter how difficult it's been, no matter how big the problem you're looking at now seems, in the midst of it is potent with possibilities. For those who use the power that's within them to hold a mindset of possibility, positivity, and productivity. So we take a deep breath here. Difficulty is inevitable. It offers gifts, capacities for us to discover that we are more than the difficulty. So the difference in where we're going to end up as we've had difficulty in our life and as we're going through difficulty isn't the difficulty. Where we're going to end up is not determined on the difficulty or by the difficulty. It's completely determined by how we be with the difficulty we're facing. And it will determine who we become and where we end up. Good thing to know is you're at the helm of that ship. You get to decide what your thinking is, how you're going to be, where you're going to end up. So tools, you stop fighting the dark, stop fighting the difficulty. It is what it is. Use your mindset. Set the mindset with positivity, possibility, and productivity. Stay in the day. A tool is stay in the day. Don't start worrying about next week and the week after that and, oh my God, this could go. Stay today. You do today well and you do that tomorrow, all these things add up. Your job isn't to figure it all out. Your job is to do your day today well. And then the thing that's really important is that in your mindset, there's an underground framework that you absolutely use to decide and determine. Those are two different wavelengths. You decide for it, and then your energy is determined to gain all the gifts that are in this difficult time. Gain all the gifts. All right? Well, here you are. We've completed now just about 5 trainings in standing firm when your world is shaking. They're available. You can listen to them again and again. You're going to be doing something anyway. You're going to be getting up. You're going to be doing something. What are you listening to? Feed your mind wonderful, wonderful supportive structures. Feed your inspiration. Feed your heart. And then you, in turn, pour that forth into your day. And not only will we get through when our world is shaking, we'll all be better. All of us who do this will turn around and say, that turned out to be the best thing that happened because of how I was with it. I know that for you. So I'm now turning this into the next day. You'll have micro doses, 5 minutes a day of brave thinking in general and brave thinking trainings. And you will have every single day from me now. And now I will turn this and you will have daily doses of brave thinking. So you'll have a complete 30 days of brave thinking from Mary Morrissey. It's my gift to you. I know if you listen to it, you'll be inspired. Inspiration without action is just entertainment. I hope you will take these things, at least some of them, one thing a day, employ it in your life, and you're going to see a complete shift in your direction. You go down the road, you just shift 1 degree, just 1 degree in your mindset. 6 months down the road, you're in a whole new place. So thanks again for coming. Mary Morrissey signing off here. I'll see you tomorrow. And now, if you would love even more support in embodying brave thinking in these challenging times, I have a gift for you. Click below, and you're going to have an opportunity to receive from me 30 days of daily videos from me for 30 days, helping you stay in a mindset of uplifting thoughts, choosing that day what you can do. I will give you a 5-minute personalized video for you for that specific day of this 30-day program in learning how to establish a set point in your normal thought pattern of being a brave thinker instead of dealing with everything coming at you. You will get through this time, but who you become at the end of this and what your conditions are and whether you've grown through this time or just barely gritted your teeth to get through it will have everything to do with your thinking. So my gift to you is 30 days of training. It just takes 5 minutes in the morning. You're going to have a mindset on anyway. You don't get to not think. Why not think? From a vibration that actually takes you where you want to go instead of just barely getting by and reacting to the circumstances we have. So for the next 30 days, I'll send you a 3 to 5 minute video, simple, highly effective steps that you can apply that day to making that day the best day you can have, even in the midst of difficult times. There's no sales pitch in this. There's no hook. It's just a gift from me. And I'm happy to do it at this time particularly. So it's something I've been helping clients with for many, many decades. And I'm just giving it away now. So I'm happy to do that, and I hope you will avail yourself of it. And then if you want to give it to somebody else, feel free to do that right now. That's what we're doing. So, and you can leave any question you want in the comment section below. So I love hearing from you. Did you enjoy this? What helped you? What would you like more of? How you doing right now? What else can I help you with? So until tomorrow, feel a big, big hug from Mary Morrissey.